You've been meditating the wrong way. Cayce's method corrects it. What if everything you've been told about meditation is keeping you from the very awakening it promises? Right now, millions of souls are sitting in silence, cross-legged, eyes closed, following techniques that sound spiritual, but create more separation from the divine than union with it. They've been taught to empty their minds, to transcend their thoughts, to rise above this earthly existence. But what if that's backwards? What if the very practice meant to connect you to your highest self is actually disconnecting you from your soul's deepest purpose? There's a method of meditation so profound, so different from what you've learned, that it doesn't just transform consciousness. It transforms the very fabric of your soul's journey through time and space. This method comes to us through Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet who gave over 14,000 readings while in deep trance, a man who could access what he called the Akashic Records, the cosmic library where every soul's experience across all lifetimes is written in light. And in those records, he discovered something that changes everything about how we approach the sacred practice of meditation. This isn't about relaxation. This isn't about stress relief or productivity hacks. This is about remembering who you truly are and why you chose to be here in this body at this exact moment in cosmic time. Your soul has been waiting for this understanding, because what you're about to discover will awaken something inside you that has been sleeping, perhaps for lifetimes. The journey begins now. Edgar Cayce possessed one of the most extraordinary gifts in recorded history, while in trance, deeper than sleep, yet more conscious than waking. This humble man from Kentucky could answer any question about the human soul, questions about past lives, questions about future destinies, questions about healing the body, mind, and spirit. But Cayce wasn't speaking from personal philosophy. He wasn't teaching from books he'd read or techniques he'd learned. He was channeling information directly from what he described as the highest spiritual sources, beings of light who oversee humanity's evolution, the very consciousness that guides souls through their eternal journey. And when people asked him about meditation, about how to truly connect with the divine, his answers were unlike anything being taught then or now. Most meditation teachers, even today, approach the practice from the mind. They give you techniques to quiet thoughts, to transcend the ego, to escape the world around you. But Cayce's guidance came from the soul's perspective. And the soul, your soul, has a very different understanding of what meditation is truly for. You see, through his readings, Cayce revealed something that modern spirituality has forgotten, something that explains why so many sincere seekers sit in meditation feeling restless, disconnected, like they're missing something essential. He called it spiritual bypass, the tendency to use meditation as escape rather than engagement, to seek transcendence rather than embodiment, to empty the mind rather than fill it with divine purpose. Your soul didn't incarnate into this life to escape. It came here to serve, to love, to be a channel for divine light in a world that desperately needs it. And true meditation, the kind that actually transforms you, doesn't prepare you to leave this world. It prepares you to serve it more perfectly. This is the fundamental difference. This is why traditional methods often feel incomplete. This is why you may have sensed that something deeper was possible. Cayce called this deeper practice attunement, and what you're about to learn will change not just how you meditate, but who you become through the practice. Let me share with you the central mystery we're about to unpack together. What Edgar Cayce called attunement is the sacred process of aligning your individual consciousness with the universal consciousness that flows through all life. But here's what makes this different from everything you've been taught. Traditional meditation focuses on emptying. Cayce's method focuses on filling yourself so completely with divine love and purpose that there's no room for anything that isn't aligned with your soul's highest calling. Think about it this way. When you sit in traditional meditation, trying to stop your thoughts, trying to transcend your human experience, what are you really doing? You're creating separation. You're making the mind the enemy. You're treating your human life as something to escape rather than something to sanctify. But your soul chose this life. It chose this body. It chose these exact circumstances, not as punishment, but as the perfect conditions for its growth and service. Cayce understood that true meditation isn't about transcending the world. It's about becoming a perfect channel for divine love within it. It's about remembering that you are not just a human being having occasional spiritual experiences. You are an eternal soul, temporarily wearing a human form for the purpose of bringing heaven to earth through your very presence. This changes everything about how we approach the practice. Instead of emptying your mind, you fill it with your highest spiritual ideal. Instead of escaping your emotions, you welcome them as sacred information from your soul. Instead of transcending your relationships and responsibilities, you transform them into opportunities for service. And as you'll discover, this creates a meditation practice that doesn't just feel meaningful in the moment. It transforms your entire life into a living meditation. We're going to explore this through what I call the 6 sacred phases of Cayce's attunement method. Each phase builds on the last. Each phase opens doorways that traditional meditation keeps closed. By the time we complete this journey together, you will understand why your previous meditation practice may have felt incomplete, and you'll have the keys to unlock a depth of spiritual experience that goes far beyond anything you've imagined possible. Your soul has been preparing you for this understanding. The restlessness you felt, the sense that something deeper was calling, was not your imagination. It was your soul's wisdom guiding you toward this moment of recognition. There's a moment that comes to every sincere meditator. You're sitting in your usual position, eyes closed, following your breath or a mantra, or trying to observe your thoughts without judgment. But instead of peace, you feel restless. Instead of transcendence, you feel trapped. Instead of spiritual connection, you feel more separate than ever. And in that moment, a question arises from somewhere deeper than your mind. Is this really all there is? If you've experienced this, I want you to know something profound. That restless feeling isn't failure. It's not a sign that you're doing meditation wrong. It's your soul recognizing that something essential is missing. You see, your soul remembers what it was like before incarnation. It remembers the state of perfect unity with divine love. It remembers its connection to the cosmic intelligence that orchestrates all life. And when you sit in meditation trying to create emptiness, trying to stop thoughts, trying to transcend your human experience, your soul recognizes this as artificial separation from the very consciousness it longs to reconnect with. Edgar Cayce understood this restlessness as the soul's call to remember its true purpose, not to escape incarnation, but to fulfill it. Not to transcend the world, but to transform it through divine love. This is what he meant by the threshold moment. The recognition that traditional meditation, no matter how sincere your practice, cannot satisfy your soul's deepest longing. Because your soul didn't come here to meditate in isolation. It came here to be a living meditation, to embody divine principles in every relationship, every challenge, every opportunity to serve. The threshold moment is when you realize that sitting in silence, trying to stop thoughts, feels like spiritual imprisonment rather than liberation. And this realization, this recognition of a deeper longing, is actually the beginning of true spiritual practice. Cayce revealed why this happens. He said the soul incarnated not to escape, but to serve. Your meditation should prepare you for divine service, not retreat from it. This introduces us to the first sacred principle of attunement: ideals before emptiness. Before you can properly attune to divine consciousness, you must clarify your soul's highest ideal, not what you want to receive from meditation, but what you came here to give through your life. What is the highest expression of love that wants to move through you? What is the divine quality that your soul most wants to embody? How does the universe want to serve itself through your unique presence in the world? These aren't questions for your mind to answer. They're questions for your soul to reveal, and they become the foundation for everything that follows. Because once you understand your soul's deepest purpose, meditation becomes not escape from life, but preparation for the most meaningful life possible. Now we enter the first revolutionary aspect of Cayce's method. Instead of beginning meditation by trying to empty your mind, you begin by consciously filling it with your highest spiritual ideal. But this isn't affirmation. This isn't manifestation. This isn't about getting something you want. This is sacred vow, a commitment to become the person your soul came here to be. You might say, I am a perfect channel for divine love, or I embody compassion in every interaction, or I serve the highest good in all that I do. The exact words matter less than the sincerity of your commitment. This is your soul speaking its deepest truth. This is your spiritual DNA expressing itself through conscious intention. And then, something remarkable happens. As you hold this ideal in your consciousness, everything in your psyche that isn't aligned with it begins to surface. Old resentments, hidden fears, judgments you didn't know you were carrying, patterns of thinking and feeling that contradict your highest aspiration. In traditional meditation, you would try to push these away. Return to the breath, return to the mantra, get back to the emptiness. But Cayce taught something radically different. He said these shadows aren't obstacles to your spiritual growth. They're sacred information from your soul about what needs healing. Every shadow that surfaces carries a gift. Every fear that arises points to where you need more love. Every judgment reveals where you need more compassion. This is what he called the mirror preparation. Your consciousness becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting back to you everything that needs to be brought into alignment with your highest ideal. And instead of resisting or suppressing these shadows, you welcome them with curiosity and compassion. Oh, I see there's still anger here. What is this anger trying to teach me? I notice fear arising. What would love do in this situation? I observe judgment. How can I see this person with more compassion? This transforms meditation from spiritual bypassing into spiritual integration. Instead of transcending your humanity, you're healing it. Instead of escaping your shadows, you're transforming them into wisdom. The mirror preparation doesn't happen once. It happens every time you sit in attunement. Each session reveals new layers, deeper patterns, more subtle areas where your consciousness can align more perfectly with divine love. And gradually, beautifully, you begin to notice that your ideal isn't just something you aspire to, it's something you're actually becoming. The gap between who you are and who you came here to be grows smaller and smaller until one day you realize they're the same person. This is the first miracle of Cayce's method. You don't just experience spiritual states during meditation, you become a spiritual being in meditation and far beyond. As you continue working with the mirror preparation, something profound begins to shift in your meditation experience. What started as solitary practice gradually becomes something else entirely. You begin to sense presence, not your presence, something greater, something that feels ancient and familiar, yet completely beyond your ordinary consciousness. At first, it's subtle, a sense of being held, a feeling that you're not alone in this sacred work, a gentle warmth that seems to emanate from somewhere deeper than your physical body. Then the sensations become more distinct, perhaps a soft pressure at the crown of your head, like loving hands blessing you. Maybe a tingling throughout your heart center, as if divine light were flowing directly into your emotional body. Sometimes insights arise that feel nothing like your usual thinking, gentle whispers of wisdom that seem to come from a source of infinite compassion, understandings about your life, your relationships, your purpose that feel like loving gifts from somewhere beyond ordinary consciousness. Edgar Cayce taught that these are not your imagination. These are not psychological projections or wishful thinking. These are your spiritual guides, beings of light who have been overseeing your soul's journey across all lifetimes, who know your spiritual history, your current challenges, and the magnificent destiny you're growing toward. But here's what makes this understanding so profound. These guides aren't separate entities trying to control your life from some distant realm. They are aspects of your own expanded consciousness, your future self, the being you're becoming through this spiritual work, reaching back through time to offer guidance, encouragement, and love to your present self. Think about this for a moment. The you who has already achieved perfect attunement, who has learned to embody divine love completely, who serves as a clear channel for universal wisdom. That future you exists in the eternal now. And through the practice of attunement, you create a bridge between your current self and that highest potential. The guides you experience are your own soul's wisdom, filtered through the highest dimensions of consciousness. This explains why their presence feels so familiar, why their guidance resonates so deeply, why their love feels so unconditional. They know you completely because they are you, perfected through spiritual evolution. As this recognition deepens, meditation transforms once again. It becomes not just personal healing, but cosmic communion, not just individual practice, but participation in the great web of consciousness that connects all souls. You begin to understand that your spiritual growth serves something much larger than personal enlightenment. Every moment of attunement, every shadow transformed into wisdom, every alignment with your highest ideal ripples out through the fabric of universal consciousness, blessing all life. And your guides, your future self, celebrates each step of this journey with infinite love and patience, because they remember what it was like to be where you are now, and they know the incredible beauty of where you're going. Now we enter the most mystical aspect of Cayce's attunement method. As your relationship with guidance deepens, as you learn to recognize the presence of your expanded consciousness, the meditation space itself begins to transform. Instead of sitting in emptiness, you find yourself in what Cayce called the temple within. This isn't metaphor. This isn't visualization. This is a real dimension of consciousness that becomes available when your attunement reaches sufficient depth. The temple within appears differently to each soul, but certain qualities remain consistent. It feels ancient and eternal, as if it existed before time and will continue beyond form. It radiates peace and wisdom, and it's alive with loving intelligence that knows you completely. Sometimes it appears as a great library with records of light containing the story of your soul's journey across all lifetimes. Sometimes it manifests as a garden where every flower represents a lesson learned. Every tree symbolizes wisdom gained through experience. For some, it's a simple room filled with golden light, where sitting in silence provides direct access to cosmic knowledge. For others, it's a vast cathedral, where the voices of all who have loved you echo in perfect harmony. But regardless of its appearance, the temple within serves the same sacred function. It becomes your soul's classroom, where the deepest teachings about your purpose and destiny are revealed. Here, in the sanctuary of your own expanded consciousness, you gain access to what Cayce called your soul records, the complete story of who you are, where you've been, and why you chose this particular incarnation. Memories may surface of other lifetimes, other identities, other lessons your soul has been working with across time, not as entertainment or curiosity, but as profound context for understanding your current life's challenges and opportunities. You might remember a lifetime where you learned about courage, helping you understand why you're facing situations requiring bravery in this life. You could recall experiences with forgiveness that illuminate why certain relationships have appeared to give you opportunities to practice compassion. These memories don't come as dramatic visions or past life regression experiences. They arise as quiet knowing, gentle recognition, understanding that feels like remembering something you always knew but had temporarily forgotten. And alongside these memories comes clear guidance about your next steps, not psychic predictions about external events, but soul-level direction about how to align more perfectly with your highest purpose. The temple within becomes your refuge from confusion, your source of clarity when life feels overwhelming, your reminder of the greater story your soul is writing through this human experience. Most importantly, you begin to understand that this inner sanctuary isn't separate from your daily life. It's the spiritual foundation that makes ordinary life extraordinary. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to share wisdom gained in the temple. Every challenge becomes a chance to apply insights received in meditation. Every relationship becomes a sacred space where souls recognize and support each other's highest evolution. This is what Cayce meant when he said that true meditation doesn't separate spiritual practice from daily living. It transforms daily living into spiritual practice. As you spend more time in the temple within, accessing your soul records, something beautiful begins to emerge: pattern recognition. Suddenly, you can see the golden threads connecting all your life experiences into a meaningful tapestry. Events that seemed random or tragic or confusing reveal themselves as perfectly orchestrated opportunities for your soul's growth. The difficult relationship that taught you about boundaries, the career disappointment that redirected you toward your true calling, the illness that opened your heart to compassion, the loss that deepened your appreciation for love. Through the lens of pattern memory, you begin to understand that nothing in your life has been accidental. Every person who entered your experience, every challenge that tested your faith, every opportunity that called forth your gifts, was exactly what your soul needed for its evolution. This recognition creates a profound healing that goes deeper than any therapy, any healing modality, any personal development work you've ever done. Because when you see your life as a soul curriculum, when you understand that every experience was chosen by your own higher wisdom, what once felt like victimization transforms into empowerment. The person who hurt you becomes a soul who agreed to play a difficult role in your spiritual education. The circumstances that limited you become the constraints that focused your growth in exactly the right direction. The failures that humbled you become the experiences that opened your heart to receive divine grace. Edgar Cayce taught that this shift in perception, from victim consciousness to soul consciousness, is one of the most profound transformations possible in human experience. Not because it minimizes suffering or bypasses genuine pain, but because it reveals the higher purpose within all experience. It shows you that your soul is not just surviving this human life, it's actively orchestrating it for maximum spiritual benefit. Pattern memory also reveals the incredible intelligence with which your soul has been guiding you toward this moment. Every book that called to you, every teacher who appeared at the right time, every insight that shifted your perspective was part of a larger design to prepare you for deeper spiritual understanding. You begin to see that your interest in meditation, your longing for spiritual connection, your sense that something greater was calling, these weren't random impulses. They were your soul's guidance system, leading you toward the practices and understandings that would accelerate your evolution. And as this pattern recognition deepens, something else becomes clear. The same intelligence that has been orchestrating your past experiences is also preparing your future ones. Your continued practice of attunement, your commitment to embodying your highest ideals, your willingness to serve divine love, is creating the conditions for experiences beyond anything you've yet imagined. This is how souls evolve, not through escaping their humanity, but through recognizing the divine intelligence working within their human experience. Pattern memory becomes a constant reminder. You are not at the mercy of random circumstances. You are a conscious soul, actively participating in your own spiritual education, supported by infinite love at every step of the journey. Now we arrive at the ultimate revelation of Cayce's attunement method. Each time you enter meditation, each time you align with your highest ideal, each time you access the temple within, you arrive at a sacred choice point, a moment of perfect clarity where you can see the different paths available to your soul and consciously choose the one that serves your highest evolution. This isn't about predicting the future or controlling external circumstances. This is about recognizing that in every moment you have the power to align your consciousness with increasingly refined expressions of divine love. Edgar Cayce taught that free will is the soul's most precious gift. Even spiritual growth cannot be forced upon you. Even divine love cannot override your freedom to choose your own level of alignment with universal consciousness. And in the state of deep attunement, this choice becomes crystal clear. You can see the version of yourself that continues to resist growth, that holds on to old patterns, that chooses comfort over evolution, and you can see the consequences of that choice, not as judgment but as natural law, the experiences that will arise from that level of consciousness. You can also see the version of yourself that embraces transformation, that releases limiting beliefs, that chooses love even when it's difficult. And you can see where that path leads, the relationships that will deepen, the opportunities that will emerge, the peace that will grow within you. This isn't about making yourself wrong for wherever you currently are in your spiritual journey. This is about recognizing the incredible power you have to consciously participate in your own evolution. Every meditation session becomes a vote for the version of yourself you want to strengthen, a vote for the kind of consciousness you want to embody, a vote for the legacy you want to leave through your presence in the world. And here's what makes this choice so profound. It's not just personal. Your decision to align with your highest potential, to embody divine love more completely, to serve as a clearer channel for universal wisdom, affects everyone whose life you touch. Your family experiences the blessing of your increased peace and compassion. Your community benefits from your commitment to service. The collective consciousness of humanity is lifted by your choice to evolve. This transforms meditation from personal practice into cosmic responsibility, not as burden, but as incredible honor. You have been given the opportunity to participate consciously in the evolution of consciousness itself. Each time you choose alignment over resistance, love over fear, service over selfishness, you're not just healing your own soul, you're contributing to the healing of all souls. Cayce understood that this is how divine love spreads through the world, not through preaching or convincing, but through individuals choosing to embody spiritual principles more and more perfectly. Your attunement practice becomes your gift to existence itself, and the choice to continue growing, to keep aligning with your highest potential, becomes an act of devotion to all life. This is the sacred decision that awaits you in every meditation. Will you be the person your soul came here to be? Will you serve the love that wants to express itself through you? The universe waits with infinite patience for your answer and celebrates with infinite joy every time you choose yes. The true test of any spiritual practice isn't what happens during meditation. It's how that practice transforms the way you move through ordinary life. With Cayce's attunement method, this integration becomes natural and profound, because you're not just practicing a technique, you're embodying a way of being that flows seamlessly from meditation into every moment of your day. Let me share with you the sacred rhythm that allows this to happen. Each morning before engaging with the external world, you enter attunement with a specific intention to receive guidance for the day ahead. You state your highest ideal, welcome any shadows that need healing, and open yourself to the wisdom of your spiritual guides. But you don't ask for predictions about what will happen. Instead, you ask to be shown how to embody your highest self, regardless of what circumstances arise. How can I serve love in my interactions today? What qualities want to express themselves through me? How can I be a blessing to everyone I encounter? The answers come not as detailed instructions, but as qualities of consciousness. Perhaps you sense that patience wants to express itself through you today. Maybe you feel called to embody deeper listening, or you might recognize that courage is the gift you're meant to share. Then, as your day unfolds, every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice these qualities. Every challenge becomes a chance to embody spiritual principles. Every conversation becomes a sacred exchange between souls. The person who cuts you off in traffic becomes your teacher in patience. The difficult colleague becomes your opportunity to practice compassion. The unexpected change in plans becomes your invitation to trust divine timing. This doesn't mean you become passive or fail to set appropriate boundaries. It means you approach each situation from your highest self rather than your reactive patterns. Throughout the day, you maintain connection to your attunement through what Cayce called the sacred pause. Before responding to any trigger, before making any significant decision, before engaging in any important conversation, you pause. In that pause, you reconnect with your morning attunement. You remember your ideal. You invite your guide's perspective, and you respond from that aligned state rather than from habit or emotion. This transforms ordinary activities into spiritual practice. Washing dishes becomes meditation on service. Driving becomes time for gratitude. Work becomes expression of your unique gifts in service to others. Then, each evening, you return to formal attunement for what Cayce called the blessing practice. You review the day's experiences not as judgment, but as recognition of how the divine expressed itself through you and around you. You bless the moments when you remembered to embody your ideal. You offer gratitude for the challenges that helped you grow. You send love to anyone you may have interacted with from less than your highest self. And you ask for guidance about anything that needs attention or healing before you rest. This creates a continuous cycle of alignment that deepens with every day of practice. You wake up more aligned. You move through your day more consciously. You sleep with greater peace. And gradually you realize that the distinction between meditation time and daily life has dissolved. You're living from the same consciousness during both. You've become a walking meditation, a continuous expression of divine love in human form. This is what Cayce meant when he said that true spiritual practice doesn't separate you from the world. It transforms your relationship to the world so completely that everywhere you go becomes sacred space. As your attunement practice deepens, something beautiful happens to your relationships with others who are also seeking spiritual growth. You begin to understand their journey not from the outside, not from judgment or comparison, but from the sacred recognition of one soul acknowledging another's path. Perhaps someone in your life has been struggling with loss. They're angry at God, questioning everything they once believed, feeling abandoned by the divine love they once trusted. Before understanding Cayce's approach, you might have tried to fix their pain. You might have offered spiritual platitudes or urged them to see the silver lining or suggested they just need to meditate more. But through attunement, you recognize something profound. Their struggle isn't a mistake or a failure of faith. It's their soul's way of breaking open to receive a deeper understanding of divine love. Sometimes the heart has to be completely shattered before it can be rebuilt, large enough to hold unconditional compassion. Sometimes faith has to be demolished before it can be reconstructed on the unshakable foundation of direct spiritual experience. With this recognition, your presence becomes healing rather than fixing. Instead of trying to change their process, you hold space for it. Instead of offering answers, you offer the gift of being completely witnessed in their pain. You understand that their anger is sacred. Their questioning is holy. Their doubt is actually their soul's way of refusing to accept anything less than authentic spiritual connection. This creates safety for them to feel what they need to feel without judgment. And in that safety, their own inner guidance can emerge to show them their next steps. Sometimes you might share what you've learned through your attunement practice, but not as prescription, as offering. Not as the right way, but as one soul sharing with another what has brought comfort and clarity. And always, you remember that their path is as divinely orchestrated as your own. Their struggles are as perfectly designed for their growth as your struggles have been for yours. Their timeline is as honored by the universe as your timeline is. This understanding transforms you from someone who gives spiritual advice into someone who embodies spiritual presence. And that presence, that quality of unconditional love and acceptance, often provides exactly the healing they need. Because in your eyes they see themselves reflected not as broken beings who need to be fixed, but as perfect souls having exactly the experience necessary for their evolution. This is how attunement naturally increases empathy, not as emotional absorption that drains your energy, but as spiritual recognition that blesses everyone involved. You learn to love people exactly where they are, while holding space for who they're becoming. You learn to honor their process, while maintaining your own alignment. You learn to be channels for divine love, without forcing spiritual insights on anyone. And in this way, your attunement practice becomes service not just to your own growth, but to the spiritual evolution of everyone whose life you touch. Close your eyes for a moment and let me guide you into a profound recognition. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. You have been practicing Cayce's attunement method consistently. Every morning you've aligned with your highest ideal. Every evening you've blessed your experiences. Every challenge has become an opportunity for deeper embodiment of divine love. See this future version of yourself. Notice how they move through the world. There's a quality of peace that radiates from their presence, not the peace of someone who has avoided difficulty, but the peace of someone who has learned to find divine purpose within all experience. Watch how they interact with others. They listen with complete presence. They speak with gentle wisdom. They hold space for others' pain without taking it on. They share their joy without needing others to match their energy. Notice their eyes. There's depth there that comes from having accessed the temple within thousands of times. There's compassion that comes from having welcomed and healed countless shadows. There's confidence that comes from knowing they are guided and supported by infinite love. This person still faces challenges. They still experience loss, disappointment, uncertainty, but they approach these experiences with such trust in divine timing, such faith in their soul's wisdom, such commitment to finding the gift in every situation, that even difficult times become opportunities for grace. They've learned the secret of living as an embodied soul. They know they are eternal consciousness temporarily expressing through human form, and this knowing transforms everything. Their work becomes service. Their relationships become opportunities for mutual blessing. Their daily routines become acts of devotion. Their very presence becomes a gift to everyone they encounter. Most importantly, they've learned to love themselves completely, not narcissistically, but with the same unconditional love that the universe holds for all its children. They've forgiven themselves for past mistakes. They've embraced their human imperfections as perfect opportunities for growth. They've accepted their divine nature as natural rather than special. This is not fantasy, this is preview. This is exactly the being you're becoming through your attunement practice. Every moment you spend in meditation, every shadow you welcome and heal, every choice to align with love rather than fear, you're becoming this person. And here's what makes this recognition so powerful. This future self is not separate from you. They exist in the eternal now, in the same dimension where your spiritual guides reside, and they can become your most loving and supportive guide for the journey ahead. When you're facing a difficult decision, you can attune to this future self and ask, what would you do in this situation? When you're struggling with old patterns, you can connect with their energy and feel how they've transformed these challenges into wisdom. They remember exactly what it was like to be where you are now. They remember the fears you're facing, the doubts you're experiencing, the longing for deeper connection that drives your spiritual seeking. And they want you to know, every step of this journey is perfect. Every challenge is exactly what your soul needs. Every moment of practice is an investment in the most beautiful version of yourself. The path ahead is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming who you truly are, freed from all the illusions that have hidden your divine nature. That future self, that radiant being living in perfect attunement, is your own soul's deepest truth, waiting to be fully embodied through love. We've journeyed together through the 6 phases of Edgar Cayce's attunement method. We've explored how to begin with spiritual ideals, how to welcome shadows as teachers, how to commune with divine guidance, how to access your soul's records, how to recognize the patterns of purpose in your life, and how to consciously choose your highest evolution. But now we must speak the ultimate truth that underlies all these practices. All spiritual practice, including meditation, has only one true purpose: to become a more perfect instrument of divine love. Attunement isn't about achieving special states of consciousness. It's not about gaining psychic abilities or transcending human experience or acquiring spiritual knowledge. It's about removing everything that blocks love's expression through you. Every shadow you heal, every fear you transform, every limiting belief you release, creates more space for love to flow through your consciousness into the world. Every alignment with your highest ideal, every moment of communion with divine guidance, every choice to serve rather than be served, opens your heart wider to give and receive the love that is your deepest nature. This is why Cayce's method feels so different from traditional meditation, because it's not trying to help you escape your humanity. It's helping you fulfill your humanity's highest potential, which is to become love in form. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more perfectly attuned you become to divine love, the more your separate self disappears, not through transcendence, but through such complete alignment with love's will that there's no distinction between your will and love's will. You don't lose yourself. You find your true self, which was never separate from the love that creates and sustains all life. This is what mystics throughout history have tried to describe. This is what every soul longs to remember. This is what your heart has been seeking through every spiritual practice, every moment of prayer, every experience of beauty that took your breath away. You are love itself, temporarily forgetting its nature so it could experience the joy of remembering. And every moment of attunement, every choice to align with your highest ideal, every decision to see with compassion rather than judgment, is love remembering itself through your consciousness. The meditation cushion becomes a place where love sits with itself. The temple within becomes the sanctuary where love communes with its own eternal nature. The guidance you receive becomes love's own wisdom, flowing through your expanded awareness, and your daily life becomes love's expression in the world. Your relationships become opportunities for love to experience itself in communion. Your service becomes love's way of blessing all life through your unique gifts and perspective.